And we are live. Welcome, everybody, for joining us for episode 24. Man, it's really hard to believe that we would get this far in the podcast. Just want to thank everybody ahead of time. Thank you for watching live or watching the replay and sticking with us. It's getting close for 2025 to, come to an end, but we got great things on the horizons in 2026. So make sure if you haven't liked and subscribed any of the episodes, please do that tonight and keep staying with our community as we grow it and do better things. Now, tonight, we have a first timer. We have a big panel tonight. We got 6 of us. We have some of our regulars. We got Sam and Derek. Derek's off camera right now, but he'll be right back. And we got Aaron and Pablo. And for the first time in the show, we have Michelle, a good friend of mine, her and her husband. They come out to some of our trainings and help out and just be part of the community, and it's really great. So it's been a long time coming. So I'm glad to finally have Michelle on the show, and it's going to be a great episode. So on tonight's agenda, we're going to have 2 major topics that we're going to kind of delve into. One is a working pantry. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, what is a working pantry and what are the components? We're going to talk about the real live action of a working pantry, and has it worked for people, in what capacity, what aspects didn't work and they pushed it aside, or something that they changed and made it work. And then the other side of topics that we're going to go into, we're going to talk about supplies management. All of us in this space have all kinds of everything. We may have different amounts of things or different things, but we just got a lot of stuff. And we're going to talk about how we organize it, how we track it, how do we rotate, all the trial and error and the methods and methodologies of how we got organized, where do we need to improve. Like anything else, we learn, we correct, we learn some more, we share with friends, we learn some more, etc., etc. So tonight we will start with, knowing what you got, in a sense of you got an inventory sheet, you have a quantity of your products, you have the different types of products that are in there. You can't just put gauze. There might be 8 different types of gauze for different purposes and what have you, different sizes. So all in line with those things, how do you keep all that organized and to know what you need and what you don't need? So why don't we start with, Pablo, let's start with you. All right.
Oh man, I was just pulling out my inventory sheet.
All right, we'll give you a minute. We'll rotate to Sam.
Oh,
if he's
no.
ready. No.
Well, this is what I was going to say. As you know, I've moved on to the homestead, and they have their own system. And so I'm having to learn where everything is, and I'm having to learn the inventory. So I'm kind of the new kid here on the homestead. But what we're talking about is an important subject. And kind of a little off topic, what we do is we're now developing logbooks. So, if you've got questions like where this is or where that is or how to do this or how to make that, we're writing everything down. So eventually we're going to want everybody to know where everything is and how to do everything. So we're going through that process with me. So I won't be able to share with you tonight how the inventory works. I'm just telling you that there's one and I'm learning it.
No, that's good. In recent weeks, I've been trying to do an inventory of different components or segments of my stuff. I was trying to start with small stuff or stuff that was really important. So stuff with serial numbers and what have you, like my all my solar equipment. And until you start the inventory stuff, you really don't know what you have, because we collect stuff because we're always doing things. We trade with people, we buy stuff. It's like, oh, we have this project, and we end up with different things. And I think it's always good to go and clean out a storage space, whether it's a closet or a shed or what have you, to kind of refresh what you have. And I have an example of that. Okay. Over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, I took my daughters over to the um, to the farm, let's call it, and there was an activity where Cindy and a bunch of the ladies were showing all the kids. There was probably, I don't know, about 8 or 9 kids, maybe, if that many, showing them how to make organic bath bombs and all the little girly products and stuff. And I have 3 daughters; they're teenagers, and they were loving that stuff. Well, while the ladies were doing that, we had to go work off the tacos that we were eating beforehand. And Sam's like, "Hey, let's go take some of these nettings down over the garden." And then it's like, "Yeah, you want to help me clear out this shed?" And so we pulled everything out of this shed, and there was all kinds of different things: trash cans, bags of this fertilizer, or organic matter, or just every kind of organic chemical you might have used or something, and you got leftovers and put it in on a shelf, and just bins and bins of stuff. So obviously, Sam had not lived there, and it wasn't his shed, so he really didn't know what was in there other than if it was surface level. So we pulled everything out, we swept it out, cleaned it up and everything, and then we kind of put it back in a little bit more of an organized manner. But we kind of had to organize some of the stuff. It's like, well, what do we do with it? And we got to move some of this other shed, and then we got to take some of the things out of that shed and put in this shed. Well, that project went from small to large. We're like, I gotta go. But no, we got it all cleaned up and put it back in there, and kind of take it like a set of stairs. That was step one, And obviously Sam spends a lot of time at the farm, and he's going to learn where all that goes in, and that's probably help out with his inventory log books and what have you. So it can be laborious, but it's worth doing. So I don't want to scare anybody off from trying to do that and not keep inventory. You'll feel better in the end knowing what you got, and you'll make better purchasing or bartering decisions based on that. Because if we have too much stuff, we do this with food. We buy a couple cans of this or a couple boxes of that, and it gets shoved in the back of our pantry behind something else. And then I don't have any chocolate chips. And then you go buy another 3 or 4 bags. We make a lot of chocolate pancakes in my house. So that's kind of like my little example on that. All right. Pablo, you ready to chime in, buddy?
Yeah. So I started an inventory sheet a couple of years ago because I was talking to a friend. It's like, okay, we were talking about, okay, do you have water? Do you have how much extra water do you have? How much extra food do you have? So at one point I figured it would be good to actually log what I had instead of just keep buying stuff, like you just mentioned. So I have mine set up between food, water, all the equipment I have for comms, all the medical, which now needs to be updated, mobility. So a while back we were talking about different bags for different situations. So I have every bag listed with the contents that it has and the purpose that it has. So that has made me realize that I actually have more than I thought. But the important thing that you were talking about related to food and water is based on some basic math of what we need, what we should be having for drink on a daily basis. Like I have an inventory of all the bottles that I have, so I know I have many days of water available to me. If it's 2 people, then I can just do a simple math and I have an actual value. And I have separated all the water that I need to rehydrate the food that I have. So it's been really useful to know how far I can go with what I have. But at the same time, it can be a problem of logging too many things. It could be analysis by paralysis, paralysis by analysis. Like at some point, it could be too much. So yeah, it is a pretty, and there's no basic real structure to it. I just writing down what I have. The only thing that actually has a structure is the bags. Like, okay, this bag has this contents, and this is the purpose of this bag. I just bought another bag for a totally different scenario. So, like, at this point, like, I don't really need anymore. But it is pretty useful to actually write down what you have, because more often than not, you're gonna realize, yeah, I do have a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, one thing that I did recently is I logged all my Mountain House pouches. I don't have a lot. I mean, it is not by any means any kind of a medium or long term, food storage. It's just like next time I go on a backpacking trip, I'm gonna want to take some with me. I have like an emergency family bag for me and my girls, and so whenever we go on a trip out of town, I say, okay, everyone, pick X amount of these. So if we ever got stuck somewhere, because if we go to Orlando and you get I-4 is down, or just whatever reason we get delayed, at least we have the food. But I also sat there and calculated how much water I would need and taking it in the form of water bottles, So all of us sit there and we put water back and everything, but we follow the adage of 1 gallon per person per day, or 2 gallons or whatever. And you might have them in big jugs or IBC totes. That's all great, but you can't be mobile with that stuff. So my recommendation to people is, if you're going to go with stuff like Mountain House or any of the freeze-dry food, make sure you got the allocated amount of water in water bottle form, so it's more mobile and it's easier just to divide up, basically, versus what am I going to do? Bring my Aquatainer, big blue jugs, that hold like 7 gallons each. It's really heavy. Not that a case of water isn't heavy, but how am I supposed to, divvy that up? I got to have cups, and we're in a car or a truck or something like that. So it's just easier for my kids to grab a water bottle to drink normally, or if we're out at a campsite or something like that, and they can sit there and say, okay, I want to eat now. And I just let them heat it up and, use the water that way. Let's see. What about you, Derek? Got any comments on that? Derek, can you? Oh, he's muted.
I was muted. Sorry. I knew it was going to happen. It's going to happen again. I promise you. So no, honestly, I'm kind of with Pablo. Yeah, one of the things I really like about this podcast is I usually take a lot away from it as well. And I'm probably not the most organized. I could probably really learn from a lot of you guys. Me personally, I inventory everything as well with an iPad, but specifically in reference to your water your water scenario there, Dom. I agreed. I've got IBC totes too, and it's like, man, have you seen one of those filled up and what it does to the back of a 1500 or an F-150? It is like you're not getting in and out very easily. So yeah. A couple of canteens and such like that, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing what the rest of everyone else kind of does, because I'm in sponge mode right now. I'm trying to absorb all of this.
Yeah. So Michelle, what can you add? You got any kind of organizational ideas like these guys were talking about?
I'm the polar opposite of all of you, because I happen to love Excel. I happen to be possibly a little unhealthful obsession with organization, and I love it. So I never see it as a terrible project, because I will tail everything out and start over and reorganize, and it gives me total satisfaction. So I have master Excel spreadsheets that I've created, and each there's a sheet for each different category. So there's the food, there's the ammo, there's the medicine, there's the whatever that might be. And I created a master for each one of those of the quantities that I should have based on the number of people in my home. And I have those as a master. And I will tell you, I use the the Church of Latter-day Saints. They have a lot of very good resources. So my food, how much I should have on hand for a year for, let's say, 5 family members. I created it so I have the 1 person, 1 month, and then I created the formulas. So now I can put in the top of mine, like 5 people, 12 months, and it gives me every single item on my food category and what I should have, and I can change that. And as I buy, I just enter it into the on hand column, and it will tell me if I'm negative or positive on what I should have.
Oh,
And
I love that.
I use that for everything.
Yeah.
But if you take time, I have all the resources, and then I just went and I find different resources of what you should have, what tools should we have. And so I have a tools page, and I have all the list of the tools we should have. And then I'll go outside and go, oh, I have this, 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 and then I just put it in my on hand, and then my formulas calculate everything out where I'm at. So it was a one-time deal. You take the time, you create the base.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh yeah.
Now I just change it based on the numbers. So now as people leave my house, I still haven't changed it from 5 because they're all going to come over when time comes. So
Oh yeah.
So I keep it, and that's how I do it. But I'm very organized, and everything is labeled, and each shelf has only 1 category of thing in my supplies. So that's me.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. I'm a big Excel user too. So I mean, Excel is great if you just want to organize your data in a nice,
once you get the main base, it has what I'm supposed to have, and I don't have to keep searching different resources. So for solar, I have a solar page, and as I accumulate and I go through, I'll add what's on hand.
Mm-hmm.
That way I can look and go, oh, I don't need any more of that, and I'm not going to spend my money on that.
Oh yeah.
And so it keeps me in budget. It keeps me on track, and then I can fill in the holes as needed, or if you find a great deal.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you brought up about staying on budget, because a lot of people get deterred from preparing. Oh, I can't afford it. And if you just set your goals and you keep your quantities going, you catch the sales to get the BOGOs or 5 for 4 or whatever the deal may be, or you buy it in bulk from Sam's or Costco or what have you, it makes it a lot easier. But if you're really tight on the money, then you can sit there and work an Excel spreadsheet to be able to break it down what you can afford each week, each month, or whatever the case may be.
Once you have the base, that my base isn't changing on sugars, and I don't worry about gourmet meals because honestly, if shit hits the fan, I'm really not worried about how well I eat. I'm really worried about the nutrition and what's actually going to get me through.
Yeah.
So, you can read all the Pinterest stories you want on all of the gourmet foods. I don't care about that. But there are certain things you need that you must have. Water is one of them. So, of course, water is on there. And honestly, the human body needs salt, and people don't think about salt. And you have to have salt. So how much salt do you really need? So I put it on there, and I just start with the basics versus worrying about everything else. I can fill in the, oh my gosh, my kids like hard candies. Let me save those. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't worry about that. But then I only fill in what's absolutely necessary first. And then when I hit those goals, then I can fill in the extra stuff.
Yeah, and the one way people can use Excel too is if you're you make the formula in the spreadsheet to where, okay, well, I've put away food for 5 people for 5 months or whatever, but then either you take on an extra person or you're worried that whatever crisis is going to happen is going to go longer than 5 months. Right. You can do formulas to ration what you got.
Yes.
So full ration, 3/4 ration, half ration, whatever the case may be. So there's so many different things for everyone to kind of nerd out on Excel and help you with your inventory and stuff like that. So don't be afraid of Excel. And there's so many videos out there now. So if you've never I came from corporate America before I got into my current job. So I was always using Excel in either place, I don't know about the rest of you guys if you've ever really had a need to use Excel.
Because you can go, like, all these places have like these, PDFs you can print.
Yeah.
This is all wonderful, but I'll take this, go out to the garage and go, I'll fill it in. And then I have the master on there. However, I can't remember who mentioned it. Oh, Sam did. I have my digital version, but everything digital, I have everything in writing as well, because I have my binder and everything, and I saved that. So that all gets downloaded and printed, because again, if I don't have electricity, I don't have, Wi-Fi. What's that going to do me? It's not going to. But we do the same thing with like maps, medical, all of my other books on how to make, my cleaning products, because I make my own cleaning products and all of that. So I have all of that. It all gets printed. We just keep that, and then it just goes in our fireproof safe, so I don't have to worry about that, and it's just stored there all the time, no matter what. The same with your passwords on the computer. I print those bad boys every December 31st. I print them and update them and put those in the safe.
That's good. Yeah. Passwords, account numbers, all that stuff, because you never know. Computer could die if you're not saving it in the cloud. So you don't even have to have the apocalypse happening.
Yeah.
The computer can just die, or your flash drive or your external drive. So at the very least, if you got a hard copy somewhere, you could always put it back in digital form. So great points. And Aaron might be feeling a little lonely over there in the corner.
Oh no, I'm just sitting all by myself over here in my office, talking about all this organization, and I'm looking around at all the organization I still have to do.
Yeah.
I love organizing. Someday maybe I'll start my own organizing business. I love it.
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea, man. I've seen a lot of people make a good amount of money on that.
I love it.
And so what are your thoughts, Aaron?
Well, so I'm going to depart a little bit from the conventional wisdom, with the caveat that I do love organizing. A lot of you guys that have talked to me over the last year or so know that my office is a never-ending organizational nightmare, and I'm trying to do it. But if I create an inventory for me, it could also be for someone else.
Yeah.
And I tend to look at things from a security perspective of, if that's compromised and I have a detailed list that's easy to access for anybody who comes in, or potentially anybody who just compromises somebody who already had access to it. My wife can be a very tough woman. But if you threaten our child, her priorities shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's appropriate. This is the same with Dom, right? Like, we all have family members. So what I've gone to is inventory at a glance, where I'll have inventory in specific spots on my property, and I'll put little like hash marks on it. That way I know if I have 12 bags of flour, I can do some quick mental math.
That's a good idea.
And it also doesn't let people know how much may or may not be here and how much may or may not be other places. When I've talked to some people in the survival group, my point is that, asymmetrical fights are always the best ones to have. So if you come to my house and you're loaded for bear and you're going to take what I have, I will just leave. Then later, at a time and place of my choosing, I will reintroduce myself into your life. Right? So I need the inventory and the logistics to be able to do that. I need to be able to say, hey, I've got 400 pounds of rice over here that I don't want to slug all over the world. I'll just leave it here. You guys enjoy in good health for as long as that lasts. You know, when I come back, I have other rice at other people's houses that is going to make it so that I don't have to slug this rice all over the place. So it's kind of a little bit of a different idea. I mean, like I said, I still love the organization, and like you guys can see from the back end of my office, organization is an ongoing process in this house.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a hardened spider cache system, if you will.
Well, yeah.
I kind of like that a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's basically asymmetrical violence is what you're looking at, where when I'm teaching it in classes, I tell people about the farmer and the pig. I just got to slaughter a bunch of pigs recently with a buddy of mine who has a farm up in Georgia. When the farmer goes up to the pig to harvest it, he doesn't yell, he doesn't scream, he doesn't shout. Right? He just goes up and he puts one in the pig's head, and that's the end of it. So, do you want to have a fight that's a yelling, screaming, shouting production? Or you just have whatever you need to do to defend your family, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
It's not a two-way street.
Yeah. Well, your points bring up something that we've touched on a little bit in previous episodes, and that we're going to do more in depth later on, not tonight, but probably when Brendan gets back, is cash management. So I purposely, call this supply management or managing supplies, because it's kind of focusing on your day-to-day, your working pantry and what have you and stuff like that. But having caches is important too, because your house could just burn down. Again,
Right.
it's not a community apocalypse, but it's a personal apocalypse. So having caches with friends and family, or even in outbuildings on your property, can help diversify your logistics, and so you're not crushed. You can be put back or set back, but not lose everything. And that's a more in-depth topic that we're going to go on in a future episode. But I'm glad you brought that up, because it brings the distinction. Because I think a lot of people that might be watching it, they might just see them being cash management and supplies management is the same thing. They might be cousins, okay, but they're not siblings, and they have dual purpose. They have different purposes, and not everyone has access to places to put caches. And I think naturally, if you read a lot of the fiction in the space, some people are putting stuff in, commercial storages, where you can go rent them by the month, or if they have a property, they're digging it up in the back, on that property, and putting it in a metal barrel that's sealed. Those might not be practical for a lot of people for a variety of reasons, but hopefully we all have friends, and we all hopefully have some local families that you can sit there and put a portion over here and a portion over there. I know Derek and Brendan, they were working on caching between their properties. You want to refresh everybody on that, Derek, what you and Brendan were talking about?
Yeah, quite a few things, actually.
We talked about gasoline before on one of the podcasts. That was the example that I was talking about with you guys, but just kind of give us a refresh or any kind of update to help out with this conversation.
Yeah. I mean, we do a little bit of we've kind of extended that, right? So as things started to kind of go down as things have started to get worse, we've kind of amplified kind of what our approach is. I know when we've discussed things with like hurricanes, whether or not you're going north or south. I think Dom, you and I were kind of discussing back and forth. Well, you don't really go south. within a few exceptions, but whatever have you. So Brendan's is more south, or is south to me. So I've started to store things like ammo, and and food and things like that at his place. And what I've done is I've kind of put a 55-gallon drum there, right, as my starting point. And what I'm doing is kind of on that budget thing that we were discussing earlier, as the budget permits, right, starting to add things to that, like clothes or blow up mattresses, tents of some sort, things like that. And then along the way, we were even thinking about storing things possibly at the ranch, right? Because it's a very good middle ground. It's a middle ground from me to him, and then from him to me, right? So, in addition to that, we have a hunting camp. I think he's discussed it a few times up north a little bit, and putting caches along the routes there, at either places we know or places we found out about just by doing area reconnaissance, or just kind of like a I know somebody that knows somebody kind of thing. And those are usually smaller, so those would be like 2-inch PVC pipes, sealed, buried, that type of thing, which would contain like MREs, maybe again some same ammunition, even some water possibly. But in the bigger picture, the bigger grand scheme of things, he's doing the same here. So I've kind of given him kind of like, because here's the thing, I told him I didn't want to know where any of his stuff was, right? So I don't want to know. Go out into the woods, pick a spot in my property, dig a hole, and bury what you need to bury, and we're good. This way, in case I'm not here, if for whatever reason we had to leave, and he needs his supplies, they're there, right? But fuel is another big one. I think Aaron had a really good idea about fuel storage with the Aaron and Brendan had a good idea with the fuel storage with the pre-used what are they, the water tanks or the old water tanks or something like that, welded.
Yeah, you can get a bunch of those. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we used to make smokers out of them.
Yeah.
And by we used to, I mean we still do. I'm a Southern man, dude. I'll smoke anything slower than me or a bullet.
It works. It works really well.
Yeah, but those old giant propane tanks, like that is hands down one of the easiest things that you can turn into storage or cooking or a variety of other things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For fuel is a big one. We all have generators. We all have vehicles, right? If we need to go from A to B. So kind of really starting to hammer down on, okay, what needs to be where, as far as like even some medical supplies, by the way. I think that's neglected a little bit, and prices for everything are going up, right? So it's just kind of keeping my own personal, and it should be based on family, right? So like his kids have spare clothes at my house, or in their cache, again, spare tents, things like that, right? So it's built upon what the family needs. In my case, it's just me and my wife, so a few pairs of socks and one tent and one air mattress is perfect for us, and some food is perfect for us. So
it's a good point, because using you and Brendan as an example here, you guys don't have kids yet, okay? So what you wear today is going to fit you 6 months, a year from now, unless you have some extreme weight loss or gain, okay? Where Brendan's kids are still young, they're younger than mine, and most of them anyways, and they grow like weeds. Because I remember he mentioned that specifically. He was kind of on the fence about putting clothes into a cache, when Junior is going to grow out of it in 2 months. And
You think it's going to take 2 months, Tom? you haven't had any boys. So that little dude grows every time I go over there.
His daughter might be a little slower on her growth, but
God, I hope so. I have a daughter too.
yeah, and but that makes a big difference, you know. So, and then you got the rotation for things. We talked about fuel last time, and then anything that's perishable, it really is not a cash item. Maybe freeze dried if you know, and you put some extra sealing, you know, some Mylar or whatever, because you know your property can get flooded, not even from a hurricane. I don't know, like at your property, Derek. I don't know if there's certain parts that catch water worse than others, or certain times a year.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. I mean, it's Florida.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if everyone here's property floods a little bit. Yeah, everything I have is definitely on blocks or on stilts, higher than ground level, just because of that. And then everything that's important that's in those structures is raised, either higher up on shelves or, like, for example, the generators way up there.
Mm-hmm.
It would take. I mean, it would have to be biblical flooding for that to get hit, but
yeah, temperature makes a big factor for all kinds of different items, you know, especially for food. But you know, you start storing gear, you know, you got to be careful because you know if you're gonna get batteries, you know, for to put with your solar gear, make sure you're getting the LiFePO 4 and not the regular lithium ion. Because you don't know how the heat is going to impact those batteries and they catch fire. Or if you're near salt water, you know, water in general with your batteries would not work good anyways, but keep your stuff off the floor. Don't put everything in the garage. So environment, rotation, they're all factors depending on what everything is. Let's see. You know, the best podcast that I've seen when it came to organizing was the Urban Prepper. If you guys have never checked him out, he is the master of lists. Like every video that he does, and he's talking about a kit or a bag or whatever, he's got a free downloadable PDF. He shows the pictures, all his tubs, label maker. He's probably related to Michelle. Okay. And you know, so it's like, and that's great, you know, and he's a computer programmer, so he's priority type A as it is. You don't got to be a programmer to be type A, but yeah, but it makes a difference. Just using that shed at the farm, there was a bunch of the tubs had labels on them, but then you open them up and there's like a couple of aquarium parts. So like 90% of the tub was empty except for that, you know, where other ones were full, you know. So we go into a frenzy when we get a bunch of tubs from, you know, Costco or Sam's or Lowe's or whatever, and we do good and we start organizing, but we're organizing air.
You know, I went away from those big tubs because that's how I started. But one, it's not manageable.
Right.
On a day-to-day basis, I'm sitting there trying to figure out what's in, and I don't have enough stuff that would go in every bin, and then I have to go to too many bins. It's time consuming, and I found it less helpful if I needed something on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So going to smaller, more manageable, it's so much easier. I can see it. It saves space. It's a lot less space than big, huge tubs. And I find that it's a lot easier. I did originally do that, and now I have a bunch of empty tubs that I'll use for something. But doing that, and then anything that, well, my food, anything like that I don't need on a day-to-day basis, all that stuff is in a Mylar, the Mylar sealed bags, and then 5 gallon. And then I have those sealed.
Yeah, long term.
for long term. But for my day to day, anything that would be like a day to day pantry, a day to day use that I'm going to take, first in, first out. If it's going to be damaged by water, those go on the higher shelves. And then the stuff that it wouldn't matter, like the cans, the water bottles, those can go on the floor.
Yep.
Those are fine.
A lot of things that we get, whether it's food or medical supplies or whatever, a lot of times it comes in these boxes in like a bulk size. Now, I know at least with the medical supplies, it's almost always, not always, but almost always better for me to break down what's in that box and put it in like Ziploc bags, whether it's gallon, half gallon, quart, whatever is appropriate. And it makes it easier to put them in containers that are smaller and stackable. So you're stacking less air. Okay. And you can get more stuff more organized. The next level would be like you guys did with those toolbox setups. Okay. Because it does the same thing that I just mentioned, but then makes it more mobile and more accessible. Because even if I go to smaller, like ammo boxes or smaller tubs, I'm still in tubs.
Yeah.
I still got to pick up 3 to get to number 4. And the same thing if I'm using ammo crates, which I do a lot for my medical supplies, I still got to unstack them. So drawer system is probably better. Unless it's backup, like Pablo's mentioned, like that base, or you could put some in a tub that's not in your, So we have working pantry where you're doing your daily, food supplies out, your sugar and your pasta or whatever. And then it's like you're working medical pantry, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And going, my kids are always asking me, Dad, I need bug bite cream. Dad, I need Band-Aids. Okay. And so I got stuff in different points in my house so they can access it. Or I say, hey, go over there and grab that. Because some things I'm okay with my kids just self-administering or not really having to ask me about it, but other things I don't want them doing. So if it's like medicine, stuff for my daughters, they have a little bit of a headache or they're uncomfortable with something, then I want to see what they're doing and make sure they're dosing properly and what have you. So, all right.
So if I can make a quick point on that, Dominic.
Yep.
I had a buddy of mine that after I got him into the medical training stuff, started putting together blowout kits for his church. And we didn't know it was a mistake until later, but he put headache medicine and a bunch of ouchie and boo-boo stuff in there in the blowout kit. So when people would have a migraine and they would go looking for the extra strength Excedrin, they would mess everything up and throw it all over the place. So like a tourniquet, do they even know what a tourniquet is? Do they know what it's for? Could they apply one? No, they don't care. They want the Excedrin. So kind of going where Pablo was saying earlier, one of the things that we found that was the most expedient was if you're going to organize something that somebody else is going to come into on a regular basis for something relatively trivial. We're not talking about like the world's worst day. We're talking about a Band-Aid, right? Mm-hmm. Take and put a little blister pack on whatever you have out there and have Band-Aids, headache medicine, electrolytes, Neosporin, off bug spray, the commonly used things. And you can do the same thing with like your pantry, like what are people most often going to come in for after a meal? Salt, pepper, and sugar. Put a little bit of that out there where it's easy for them to get to so they don't have to absolutely ransack all of your careful organization on there. So just a thought.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. We talk about blowout kits and stuff like that, and you can buy them in all kinds of different places. And they have all these good doodads in there that most of us do not know how to use. So your typical IFAC, everyone here knows how to use a tourniquet. at least in the basic, can put it on. Where you go and get, like, say, the Bear IFAC, and it's got the thing you put up your nose. What's that? Nasaline?
Nasopharyngeal airway.
Yeah, that, and then the needle for the.
That's not really a basic one. That's a felony if you're not a medic. By the way, that's like a lung dart. We can take things out of the body. We can patch the body at a surface level, but as a layman, if we start putting things into the body, there's a legal definition for that, and it's often not kind.
Oh.
So,
well, a lot of these kits are sold with all these items in them. Okay.
yeah.
But most people do not know how to use them. So I don't think there's a problem with them having them under the guise that someone that knows how to use it is around. But I wouldn't want it to keep people from having a tourniquet around. So I like to, like, when it comes to medical, I like to break it down into what is the most likely thing that I'm going to need and that I know how to use. Okay. The tourniquet. So out of that whole Bear IFAC, just using it as an example, because it comes with a lot of different things, the tourniquet and the Sharpie, okay, I know how to use.
Well, I think it goes all to that whole working pantry, whether it's a working pantry of food or the medical, what we have stored, that's different than our working day to day. And for the things that I have, my working day to day, my working pantry, all of that, I don't have to necessarily always go to the store. I can pull from my supplies to resupply my working. Again, keeps me in budget. I just adjust. When I get the sale, I'll come and resupply my backup. But they're not always the same. What I need every day, it's like what Aaron said, my sugar, my salt, the quick things that we're going to go through pretty quickly. That's part of my working pantry. And then that working pantry is the first in, first out. So as soon as I get it from the store, I'll write the date on it. And then I put that in. So I'm pulling from my front. So it's quick and easy. Anybody who comes in, they're going to pull whatever they need from the front. Same with medicine. And I know the whole IFAC, my kids can't stand fills because they're like, really? I just want Neosporin.
Yeah.
And so they're two different things. So we have one stored in the car just in case. But essentially the first aid kit, that's the one that gets resupplied all of the time with every trip, because that's the stuff we're going to pull from.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make one. We'll get with Phil and we'll call it a boo-boo fac.
Yeah.
And just to build off of what Michelle and Aaron were basically saying too, the working pantry, and this is just my humble opinion, should be a separate location from where your long-term preps are stored. So that you don't run into issues where people are going in and ransacking the organization that you have. My long-term storage is not even in my house.
Yeah, and they don't even need to know that I have back storage.
Exactly. And there's multiple reasons for that, right? Obviously, OPSEC and all that fun stuff. But again, so that if someone's kids, for example, did go through my medicine cabinet and ransack everything, it's not as hard to reorganize that versus the stuff I have in buckets, for example.
Oh, great points. Let's see here. Let's look at the comments here. Let's see what Andy had to say. Let's see what will pop up. Andy said, hello all. Andy B here. Going back to pantry rotation, what I have stored away is very different from what we eat.
Very pretty.
And, that thing goes back and forth in this space, okay? Because you get a lot of people that are in preparedness, and they're looking for what is cheap or affordable. And I want to cheap has a negative connotation. So what they feel they can afford, or if they want to bulk up quicker, because of whatever impending doom they think might be coming at any given time, they go and buy the Vienna sausages and the sardines and the Chef Boyardee and which, hey, if you like that stuff and it works for you in your normal thing, that's great. But to me, I don't think those are great items to put in your preparedness. Something similar with ramen, because it's affordable. People do it. There's a thing called food fatigue, and we get this in our normal society where it's like, yeah, I don't know, I don't feel like eating pasta again. I already had it. I want something different. To me, unless you're eating it like every day or every couple of days, if there's like two kinds of food fatigue. One is you've just had too much of either the food or the ingredients that are in the food, and it's impacting your body and it's really turning you off. Okay. Or you're just, I don't want to say lazy, but it's just like, you don't want to go, you're bored. You're just bored of what's going on with whatever you're eating. And that could be a variety of reasons and stuff like that. But in this day and age, if you're bored from what you're eating, then you're probably eating too much or too much of the same things. Or you're not, your body's pushing back on you. And you're not exercising enough, or you're not hydrating enough, or you're really being nutrient deficient. And but that's a whole soapbox we won't get onto. But to put back what you eat, yes, that is the correct way to do it. But Michelle made a very good point earlier in the podcast, okay, that a lot of her emphasis is on the nutrition. Okay. So to me, in my theory, in a situation, we'll grid down what we read in the books and see in the movies. It's very hard labor that we're going through. So we need to store more calories because we're burning more calories. So unless I'm wrong, I think the amount of like carbs that you're eating is going to be less important, because you're going to burn a lot of those off, than the fact that you need stuff that is the right nutrient mix for what your situation is. Anyone want to touch on that theory, for or against?
I like that. To steal from Brendan, I like food on hooves, that are alive and walking, and also to steal something from Pastor Joe Fox. The moment you break into a bucket or a bin or whatever it is, a timer has started.
Yeah.
You should be immediately shifting into production versus consumption. So, Michelle is absolutely right. And I think Aaron's touched on this once before, and I know Sam and has definitely. There are certain crops that you should be growing to get your macro and micronutrients, and I'm not going to lie, I don't really know. I just have a list of them. I am not a health nut in any way, shape, or form. I just know if you don't have them, you're dead. I think Brendan calls it rabbit starvation, and it was something I wasn't really aware of until him. But you can starve. You can actually starve to death by eating, for example, just rabbits, because you're not gaining all of the nutrition that you need.
That's something that's a little bit different than like scurvy or some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
But rabbits can be so lean if you catch them out in the wild that you will not get the fats that you need to live.
That's what exactly, the fats and the other. Yeah. So I mean,
but farm raised rabbits don't have that problem.
Oh,
so if you're not eating kosher and you don't have to worry about whether it has a hoof or a paw, that's something that you can definitely make as a major protein source.
Yeah.
I'm cautious too, because as Derek was saying, you open the bucket, 5-gallon bucket. Am I honestly going to eat all 5 gallons of that in that one particular item? I don't do that. I break it all down into 1-gallon Mylar bags in a 5-gallon bucket. So if I break open the bucket, everything else is still stored. I only pull out the 1 gallon.
Yeah.
Yep. And another advantage to that is if for some reason you're partnering up with somebody in the community and you need to barter with something.
Well, then you have to. I can barter, and it's sealed. And
yep.
Yeah.
It keeps its freshness. Yeah, Aaron, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so if I can make a quick recommendation on that, one of the things that I've started to do is a 20 by 30 Mylar bag is roughly 6 gallons. I actually leave a longer tail and I put 5 gallons of product in a 6-gallon bag. What that means is that when I do the double seal at the end,
Yeah.
then I have this long tail that I can reseal several times. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Will it extend my use by date by 6 months or a year? Probably.
Mhm.
You know, realistically, if I'm having to dip it into it in the first place, it's probably going to be used up in 6 months or a year anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys. I like my food without a side of roaches. And palmetto bugs are a real thing here in Florida. So
Yeah, which brings up another reason to keep your working pantry separate from your long-term
Yes.
storage is rodents.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, rodents, they are, not magical, but they seem to work magic, get into places you never thought you would see. And they'll eat or chew through just about anything. And I think anyone that's done long-term storage knows you put it in Mylar, then you put it in a plastic bucket. I know Brendan does a lot of was it diametrous earth? Oh, something like that.
dimensions earth.
Yeah. That might, I don't know if that attracts rodents or it'll, repel them, but there's so many different methods that we could all toy with. All right, so let's see here.
It usually repels rodents, by the way. It's not. There's nothing in DE powder that rodents see as food.
Okay. A little add-on. Andy had said his wife is Asian, so they also have different food needs. Now, it could be cultural differences. You could have dietary. If you guys watch, they're like my favorite food storage podcasts. Provident Prepper. Okay.
Yeah.
They recently had a series of videos. I haven't watched them all, but the lady that was on some of those episodes or helped get them on that journey was Dr. Julie Shamish, and she's based out of Pinellas. She's almost come out to some of our events, but we haven't met in person yet. But her and I have chatted in the background and stuff, and so I seen their first episode. So her family, they have a couple of diabetics, so they were doing a series of videos on how to put food back and to help with diabetics, because either your insulin will run short or maybe you don't have it for whatever reason. So that's something that anyone that has anyone in their family or friends that have insulin or diabetes, basically an insulin, they use it. It might be worth watching those. I don't think there's a food way to eliminate insulin. Okay. But if it prolongs, the healthness of somebody that has diabetes and runs short on insulin because of the food choices that they make during an emergency, then it might be worth investing. So we got to put food back for our family, our tribe, our group, or whatever the case may be, in mind. So what I might find appealing or that I can consume might be different than someone else in my friend group or my family group. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like for me specifically, I can't have a can of Chef Warrior D. It causes more problems than it solves. Within 2 bites, my stomach will not tolerate that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's
Wait a
pretty
second. We've got
difficult.
another Mark class coming up, Pablo. Should I
Another
feed you
what?
Chef Boyardee before we have to train together again?
Oh, no, yeah, I don't know if you want to go through that. So for me, it's hard because the things that I don't have a lot of canned stuff. Whatever I have canned is like I use on a somewhat regular basis, which is basic stuff: beans, corn, I have some chicken and tuna, but those kind of get used on a regular basis and replaced. So I'm actually looking into dehydrators and freeze dryers because the food that that sits well with me, it's a little different. So I'm exploring the dehydration and freeze drying route.
I've looked at that, and my thought on that is like they're very expensive. You can get them, even on Facebook Marketplace, people who got them and then never used them. So you can get them at a much lower price. But then my other thought was, what if you used a community? What if there's a group of people who all are interested in that? Again, kind of like that cash supply. Someone has that, but then as a group, you could go, hey, this is my day. I'm going to go, freeze dry these items. And then it would work better in the community if you have your, local community, kind of like when we all meet. That would be another way to make it more cost effective, yet still be able to accomplish meeting any of those nutritional goals for people who have anything special or those items that are perishable.
Yeah, great point. And, there's been discussions because I tried to solve this problem of the freeze dryer because the expense and what have you. So in my research with the freeze dryers, it seems to be two groups of people that buy the freeze dryers. Okay, or maybe three. So the impulse buyer or entrepreneurial wannabe thinks I'm going to go and freeze dry candy and I'm going to sell it at the local market and that'll pay for my freeze dryer and I'll freeze dry all kinds of other stuff. And they don't. Okay. Then you got the other group of people that buy a freeze dryer because of health needs. I personally know some people like that.
Right.
But they use it X amount of time and then they stop.
Exactly.
And that might be part of it. It's not something you can throw in the oven for 30 minutes in a batch and it's done. It takes longer than pressure canning.
Right.
But I think it's a great way to do long-term storage. So I had proposed a while back. I'm like, what if people sit there, everyone chips in X amount of dollars, okay? Say it's like a freeze dryer costs, say, $3,000, okay? And you get a group of half dozen people, they chip in the cash, and then it's not really something that you can go mobile with. I kind of looked at that. It's kind of got to be set up somewhere. There is some maintenance to it. But then you get into the position that's like, okay, well, we just have this $3,500 freeze dryer at Sam's house. Okay. So now either we come over and you start the freeze dryer process, then you got to come back the next day or 2 days later to do the next step. Someone's got to be mindful of the freeze dryer between that time. That's Sam's job, or it's intrusive on Sam's house. So then option B would be, okay, everybody, we all chip in for the freeze dryer. I'll run the freeze dryer batches because we'll do it all community-wise, but I don't kick in any money for what we're going to freeze dry, the consumable, the meat, the fruit, the veggies, or whatever. And that's Sam's way to barter. Okay, instead of me spending money on the food you got to freeze dry, I'll just do the labor, and everybody else doesn't have to do the labor. They just buy the food, and they don't, and they just get the end product. That last thing is really the one that seems to be most viable if you're going to do a group thing.
Right.
But that takes some trust. And then, Sam might say, yeah, I'll just barter so it doesn't cost me any more extra money other than the initial investment. But then he really experiences the time and labor involved. Now, if Sam's a little old lady and she doesn't go anywhere, then it's no big deal. But if you're an active, parent or you got a job and, by the time you get home from the weekend, from working all week and then you want to do it on the weekend, you're like, oh, crap, I can't do anything this weekend because I got to do this batch. And the fact that people got to buy the food after dropping all that money on a freeze dryer, I think kind of turns them off too. So, and freeze dryer does I think a lot of different things very well, but people don't like the price. But then you get a dehydrator, which can do certain things pretty good, but it's not as robust as a freeze dryer. I had a dehydrator. I bought a nice Magic Mill and all kinds of extra trays and doodads, and I tried dehydrating. I bought it to dehydrate eggs. That was like my main thing, and fruit, because that's what my kids eat and I eat. I failed on both counts, and that thing went back in the box, and it sat there for like a year and a half, and then I sold it to Juan, to give to his wife, and that was that on that. But some people get dehydrators and they really like it, So I guess it's really and the same thing can be for canning. I have all the canning stuff, and I've done a bunch of canning and everything, and I don't mind it. But I've never done water bath canning. But all the fruits and jams and stuff that I would like, you got to do that with the water bath canning and not the pressure canner.
So, I've only ever done water bath with fruits and jams, but not pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. And, Sam, at that, the kids activity we did recently, that lady that came over for the bee equipment and stuff, she does water bath canning quite a bit. And I was talking to her about the canning story and stuff like that. And she's like, well, if anybody wants to come over and, learn water bath canning or meet up, whatever it was, and show her pressure canning, boom, she's all into it, You would think if someone knows how to do one type of canning, they'll do the other one. But obviously, these examples are showing you that somebody enters the space of canning doing one thing, and a lot of times they stop right there. Might be for different reasons why that held them back before. Like, I was afraid to blow my house up, so I didn't do it until I had someone that would supervise me.
I'm afraid to blow up my house. That's why I need somebody to help me.
See?
There's a lot of science on that.
Oh, yeah. All these things, I bring all these things up because, they all can be in support of a working pantry,
Yeah.
Something to add to that, Dom, is a lot of people, especially when it comes to canned goods, which we consider perishables, if they're kept in a good air-conditioned area away from the sun, those will last you 10 to 15 years. There are videos of people opening up 15-year-old canned chicken and it being completely fine. So the notion that, man, this can expires in 3 years, there's no way I'm going to be able to stockpile this stuff and eat it. No, like for a lot of my stuff, you can get away with 800 watts of solar and one battery, and that runs an air conditioner for a small area that keeps everything air conditioned with completely blacked out.
Yep.
As long as it's as long as it's cool, right? Under under 72, colder the better, obviously. And there's no sun getting to it. Your can of Spam will not expire in 3 to 5 years. You'll get 15.
Yeah. Well, you think of a lot of, we have these old Florida homes, made out of cinder block, and they have like side doors for their garage or whatever. I mean, you can take you probably have to seal up your garage door some way to kind of keep the environment, but a wall unit will cover, 5,000 BTU wall unit will cover a garage, definitely a shed, so it depends on what you have access to. You might have to insulate your shed a little bit, but I mean, what a great opportunity to sit there and you want to insulate it in part to help keep the rodents out.
Yeah.
You got to create barriers to entry for that. You don't want to just go buy the makeshift shed, like the rubber made shed from Home Depot, or the pre-cut prefab one from Home Depot, and then don't do some finishing on the inside. You're just asking for the ants and the rodents to get up in there. But if you do that little bit of work, cut a hole in, put your window unit in, seal it, and then you can run a small solar system. on your put some panels up on your roof there of the shed. A couple of batteries, and you're good, man.
Just if I can make a real quick point on what Derek was saying with the cans and stuff. When I first got into this a few years back, I was reading accounts of a shipwreck that they had actually pulled up from the 1800s, early 1800s, and they ate canned jams and berries out of there. And then they also managed to eat some of the honey, basically, that was jarred up, that was in an Egyptian tomb that was over 2,000 years old. So it seems to matter a lot about packaging and about storage conditions, but some of that stuff may have a shelf life longer than you do if you treat it correctly.
Yeah, honey.
So,
You can use honey for sugar for backups in your long-term storage. Honey never goes bad. It is an indefinite length of time, and you can use that as sugar. So honey is super, it's very expensive, but I buy it whenever I find a good deal because stuff like that.
Yeah.
So specifically, honey will crystallize, and if it will crystallize, it can actually grow bacteria. If it's still liquid, it doesn't grow bacteria. It's like incapable of it.
Well, what causes it to crystallize? What
Temperature,
environment?
whether or not it was pasteurized, or if it's had other things added to it. Like I have a honey jar right now that is unpasteurized, just regular orange blossom honey. I grew up on that stuff, so it's like crack to me. But that stuff crystallized so quickly because it had no preservatives, and it was just kept on my kitchen counter. I did nothing special to it. Now, every so often when I want some of it, when I'm making some cornbread or I'm making my mom's biscuit recipe, I'll go in there and I'll reheat it in a water bath and reliquefy it. I have no bacterial growth because I keep the lid on it. I don't let people reach in there with their filthy hands. That's my honey. Please don't reach your disgusting human hands in there. But it's really kept for a while. So I think I'm up to almost a year on that now.
No.
And like I said, I'm not doing anything special to it. I'm not putting it in an Egyptian tomb. This isn't at a shipwreck at the bottom of the sea. It's a giant mason jar of honey on my kitchen table. So,
well, honey is a very popular preparedness product, and it has, obviously nutritional uses. It has medicinal uses, and beekeeping is becoming more and more popular. But in preparedness, a lot of times, you're probably buying it from a store of one type or another, or you're in an area that, because I remember when I was visiting, when I went hiking in the Georgia mountains a couple summers ago, we went by a business that the honey was made locally at their farm, and they had like a little commercial store, and you could buy the honey at certain times. It's very popular up there. So they definitely do a lot of volume, but then you get a lot of people on their, small homesteads that grow the honey. So I guess there's probably pros and cons to both. I can just go to Costco and get a big jar of honey, but it's probably going to have some kind of other ingredients in it versus Cindy, I know, does bees at the farm, and so they produce their own honey. I mean, do you guys do a lot of volume that it makes a difference, or just enough to consume, Sam?
Well, we've got 2 active hives now, and they're both new, so we haven't gotten any honey out of them as of yet. The honey she's got on stock was from the older hives.
Okay.
So I can't really tell you. We're not. I mean, it is bartered out a little bit, and we do have some, but it's not like we're swimming in honey at the moment.
Yeah.
But we do have 2 more hives we're going to add. So,
Now,
and
did
we did
Cindy?
some training here on that.
Yeah.
And
Did Cindy ever mention why she wanted to go into beekeeping? Was it the ingredients from the commercial honey, or just something to balance out the farm? It was interesting to her.
Well, she's all about self-sustainability, and honey is a great resource, and it's a good barter item. And like you said, you can sweeten anything with it. She's constantly putting it in my yogurt. so so yeah, it's like everything else she does around here. She's thinking about being self-sustainability here.
Let's see here.
It's always good to have pollinators around, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's such a great skill to share with other people, as part of the community. I know Cindy's been doing that, because I think Nancy's been over there learning. And then, I think there was someone else that she was going to do it with. But it seems to be one of the popular things to learn, Let's see. All right, Nate said, first rule, don't buy your pressure canner on Temu. Yeah,
Yes.
good advice. And there's more options these days. Obviously, the more the Big Daddy pressure canner was at American Harvest. It's something with American in it, and it's really expensive, but it's pretty awesome. I don't have that. I got Presto, which I think is a good value brand. It's not the bottom and it's not the top. So to get now, there's also electric pressure canners, so you can do small batches, and that's hit or miss by people. Some people say, "Oh, well, it's not really accurate in keeping the pressure. I don't trust it." And other people are like, "I do it all the time, and I'm a regular canner, and it works just fine." So I mean, it's to each his own. But I get it because it's a lot of labor to do pressure canning. So if I use one of my 23 quart pressure canners, that's like 16 pint jars. That's a lot of prep work. Okay. So if you're just trying to can your leftovers from your family meal, you don't want to break out the Presto. So having a electric canner that do 3 or 4 jars, especially if you're doing a stew or a soup or something like that, might be something to look into. All right. All right. Here's my next question. All right. So everybody has their own little version of a working pantry or not. Okay. Now, can you take a version of your working pantry on the road? Okay. So can you operate it? It's like a home versus mobile living, like camping, vacation, like long. I mean, if you're going camping for like 3, 4, 5 days, some people as a family will go camping for like a week. So you're not going to bring your working pantry out for an overnight. But if you go on vacation for like a week at a Airbnb or something like that, or hotel that has access to like a little mini kitchen or something, or if you have to evacuate. So if Pablo has a working pantry and he lives in suburbia and he evacuates out to the farm, okay, is he going to bring his working pantry or any version of it with him? So let's start with Michelle.
I don't have anything that I think would be quick, easy, mobile. I'd have to pack it but I'm going to pack anything from my working pantry. I'm not going to go, I wouldn't be able to go to my long-term supply to be mobile. I'd have to pull from there, essentially going on that vacation, going camping. I do like the idea of the mobile cart that Pablo had shown us earlier. And Sam had one like that too, but that would be a great idea that if you had that in your pantry, that would be something that you quick, easy intake. That's what you're going to eat. That's your immediate food. It's your basics, the things that you need all the time, that your family generally eats all the time.
Yeah. I've seen some people that do camping videos. They've had similar setups where they use, toolboxes or whatever to keep all their kitchen stuff, their spatulas and knives and everything else. So they just either carry it and plop it out or roll it out. And so they got like a mobile kitchen.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah. So if I was camping, I camp with my girls a couple times a year. If you're gonna, this is really, if you're either overlanding with a bunch of guys and you guys are all cooking food and stuff like that, and you're not eating Mountain House, then it might be worth investing in something like that. Or if you're a family, you're going to camp for a week or so, and then boom, you can get I got a Vivor branded like hexagonal tent that has really tight screens on it to keep the bugs out. I got folding tables, so when I go and do like a 4 or 5 day camping trip, I'm gonna break that out. I'm gonna make a mobile kitchen because I'm gonna want to cook. I'm gonna add to the experience. It's not about roughing it per se. Especially, I don't want to have to go run out and grab pub subs or whatever, and I want to eat more than snacks. And when I'm camping, I like to cook meals, for people that are with me.
I think I have, now that you mention it, I do have my camping materials on one shelf. So it's quick, easy. It's in the garage. I can grab it. It does have my kitchen. My food would have to be completely packed, but I do have the bins that I use for that, because that would only ever be used for camping, or if I don't have any electricity, I'm going to put out my, cook in my fire in the backyard type of thing, because I know that that's where that is. So I guess I have something similar to that.
Yeah. And anybody else got thoughts on that? You can take whatever version of your mobile or I don't know how much you guys are doing a working pantry, to what extent or not. Does anyone go camping besides me?
No, I don't. The only camping gear I have is a sleeping bag and a camping stove.
Yeah.
So I do have the stove, the fuel, and all the utensils in a tote. So it's really easy to grab and go. Most of the food I've been eating lately is pretty fresh, so it's kind of hard to put that. I mean, yeah, you can grab some and take it like if you're camping or something, but on a longer term evacuation type of thing, my current plan is to just take the freeze dried food and the water, and the camping stove, and to just load it in the car, and I just heat it up and eat it as I need to.
Yeah, I know if Brendan was here, he would just say, "Well, I'm just going to bring my poncho, my ceramic box blade, and my light."
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
literally.
And that's bringing a lot.
Yeah, it's almost too much.
Yeah,
I know. We go camping a lot. We carry we have a kitchen bin specifically for camping, and that has everything like aluminum foil, all of our cast iron, spatulas, all of everything that you would need to cook. We like the because you can't find a straight stick in Florida, so we have those like the metal tripod thing with the grate that kind of is adjustable, that goes down over fire if we're doing that. And then as far as like the bug out stuff, we have a separate bin, and like I don't want my wife to have to make a fire and cook food. So it's usually like MREs or like Mountain House meals with water, something that she can easily eat, cook, if you will, quote unquote, and be on the go and continue to move. But we have a kitchen bin, if you will.
So
Yeah.
I'm different again from everybody else. I love camping
Gosh.
and I love cooking. Like, so, for most of what I view as a working pantry, I don't really take it with me on the road because it's bulk staple items like flour, salt, sugar. You know, I'm a Southern boy, so cornmeal is definitely in there, as is baking powder. If I can't have cornbread, I'm not the same, nice guy that everybody gets to know. But with that, like, I think there's absolutely a benefit to going camping, especially if you're a prepper.
Yeah.
Just to see how your stuff works in an austere environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have to walk 50 feet for water or 50 feet for a bathroom, this would be a low impact way to test all of your stuff versus saying a lot of things like, according to my research, or, from what I've seen on YouTube, or any of that stuff. Like, you need to know how all this stuff works. And plus, it's fun. Going out camping is a blast to me. Like,
Yeah.
you get out in nature. I love Dutch oven cooking and cast iron cooking. Some of the best meals I've ever had have been made over a campfire. And it kind of goes to something you said earlier, Dominic, where you were talking about people getting tired of what they're eating. So they actually did a study a few years back, and starving people don't get tired of what they're eating. So it's actually, hunger is the best sauce that you can put on anything.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, the other option is nothing. And most people won't eat nothing if given the choice. So.
Yeah. In this space, you always, you see this on Facebook a lot in the comments. I mean, a lot of you guys are not even on Facebook, but I'm on Facebook a lot because promoting events or creating content, that's, preparedness related. And you get a lot of the same comments about, well, if you're hungry, you'll eat it. And, they miss the nuance of it, that older people, like senior citizens and young children, are very stubborn for different reasons. There's many times where the kid just won't eat, no matter how many times you put in front of them or her. And older people, I even worry more about them, because they've already slowed down. They probably don't eat a lot anyways, and they're already dealing with a lot of psychological, pushes to their ego, in a sense. And I don't mean it in a negative way. It's just they're not able to do what they used to do. They're not in control as much. And they, who wants to be told what to do? And if they don't want to do it, and with the kids, I think they'd eat before the older people would, for the fact that they're just learning, their boundaries and what they're willing to sacrifice. I mean, I know my kids were younger. My daughter Gianna, she just wanted to eat chicken tenders, from the dinosaur ones from Publix every day, and just she get a kick on a food, and that's it. And she don't want to change anything. And if she's not abnormal, that happens to so many other kids. And parents embrace it in one way or another, and it goes on. So, touching back on a mobile working pantry. So, if anybody in the audience is wondering, well, how would I do that? I can't bring these giant shelves of everything. You don't have to bring everything. So, if you want to cook from scratch, okay, while you're camping, you have two ways you can basically do it. One, you can sit there and get little disposable aluminum foil trays and aluminum foil and pre-pair or pre-mix. I'm not saying pre-cook, but pre-stage everything, wrap it up. I've done this with my friends. We've gone camping. The ladies, they've done the preparing, not me. I make the pancakes and the eggs in the morning. Okay, they make the other stuff. But you can bring those trays out for each day. You just got to have enough cooling space and organize it that way, and a means to keep it cool. Where I don't think ice is a good way to go about it. I have a Bouge RV electric fridge freezer. Okay. And that thing is great. I've been bringing that with camping for me about a good year and a half, 2 years now. And so I can keep stuff frozen if I want. I almost considered getting a second one, having one just my freezer and one my fridge. So I could have, milk for my girls and store the eggs and the bacon and, whatever other items that I wanted. But, if you're going to, your flour, your sugar. So if you don't want to pre-package your meals, then you can pre-package the amount of flour, sugar, salt, or whatever, whether it's in Ziploc bags or some other. You want to pick a container that will store and stack neatly so you can maximize your space, and also will prevent rodents from getting in, or bugs, or not draw the bears in from the woods, and where you don't have to worry about, I got to put this up in a bear bag in the trees. Well, you can't do that with the cold items. So, but I usually keep my cooler in my truck overnight, like in the back. So, kind of avoids a lot of the bear stuff. So, anybody?
We actually don't have a lot of bear stuff here in Florida, but we have raccoon stuff and possum stuff and rat stuff and squirrel stuff. So I'd rather have bears, all things considered.
If you camped at Fort DeSoto, I don't know if they're some rat possum combination, tree rats or something like that. I don't know. But man, those things run ruckshot at Fort DeSoto. So you can't leave no trash out. You got to keep everything locked down because those creatures will get in it. Has anyone experienced any kind of animal encounters with their food? Any camping? No?
Oh, yeah.
Man, I got to get you all out camping. Sam and Pablo.
Yeah.
I was heating up a mountain house one time when I heard 3 boars rushing out of the three hogs rushing out of the woods. That was fun. Throwing my food down to get my rifle up, almost just because the adrenaline shot at that point was like, bam, you're ready to go, baby. And it was I almost shot holes through my hammock. It was that bad. Like it was like, this is great.
was that early morning or was that like early evening?
That was it was at night. So yeah, so it was probably like an hour or two after dark, I would say.
Yeah, because I've hiked Starkey a lot, and they have the wild boars out there. You can see where they root and everything, but I've yet to see one. It just made me seem like they do a lot of their stuff either at night or early morning. Does anyone know for sure when it comes to the boars?
So it depends. Their pigs will do stuff at early morning and at night. But they will also move that based on easy sources of food that they might find. So if someone's dumping trash out there, or you get a bunch of city slickers who are thinking, oh, it's the cute outdoor animal, I should definitely feed it. No, you should definitely not. And you'll screw over the next person that's in the woods because that animal's now lost all fear of you. So yeah, it's like pigs are nature's cockroach. They just survive.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing as tough as any of us on a pig. Like 2 weeks ago when I was doing that pig slaughter, or I'm sorry for YouTube, pig harvest, I watched one take 4 shots from a 22 Magnum. 3 of them were right in the skull. I'm not that tough.
Yeah.
I'm not at all that tough. And nobody I know is that tough.
All right. All right, so we're doing pretty good. We keep this under 2 hours, so we still got some time. So I want to go around the table here and kind of see if anyone wants to bring up a topic or add on to something, give some, some thoughts. So we'll start with Sam first.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to what Derek said. I'm like him. I like to soak this up like a sponge. I get great ideas every time we do one of these. As you guys know, I've got a list here. It's Sam's do list. And I got an idea from Michelle here as she was talking earlier. I need to create a needs list. And the reason I call it a needs list is we're forever talking about future items we need to get when we can afford it. Well, when it becomes a conversation, 2 days later, you forgot that thing you were talking about.
Yep.
Whereas, we're very well structured on things that need to get done, but sometimes it gets lost in the minutia about what we need to purchase. And as things get a little stranger in the world, that list becomes a little bit more important every day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, that was my takeaway from tonight's.
Very cool. All right, what about you, Derek?
I'm gonna go back to those stacking crates that Pablo had mentioned pre-show. That really got me thinking. I got a lot of supplies that are in buckets that I do actually that are not part of my long term, I guess you can say, like medical supplies that I do frequently go into. So organizing them in something that I can make very portable. Buckets are pretty portable depending on what's in them. Yes, but it sucks when I have sutures at the bottom of a bucket that's piled with gauze and everything else, and it makes it a little bit more of a pain in the butt to find that stuff. So I definitely like that. I think I'm gonna actually really start onboarding that. And I think there's still sales going on, so let's get the Lowe's and find that stuff, or Home Depot, whatever you guys like. But I like the Excel idea, Michelle, a lot. You actually had me thinking about maybe some like in Excel you can do the macros and stuff, right? So like what Dom was kind of building off of what you were saying, when you add an extra person, how do you know how much of what specific thing you might need based off of the preps you already have? Some VB code can absolutely do that. Have like one sheet that's a calculator, right? And work that off on there. I like that idea a lot. So that might be something I'm looking into, because I use a standard sheet, like I was saying on the iPad, but it's literally just beans, bullets,
Yeah. Well, one thing about Excel that is great. So your main Excel file is called a workbook. And then within the workbook, you have all these tabs. They're the sheets. Okay. So you could like Michelle could have all her stuff organized the way she wants it, and all her master, inputs and stuff like that. And if you just wanted to create, like if she wanted to create another tab, and she could just call it, rationing, and she could feed the formulas in that tab off just certain cells or boxes on the other tabs that she felt were important. Like, these are my total calories, and that's on tab A, and the number of people is on tab A somewhere else. Well, she could sit there and just build the thing on the new tab and make her formulas, or even a form to input, and then boom, she could have a quick calculation. She probably already knows how to do all that anyways, but just to help you on that. And, for preparedness people, like I've been using Google Sheets for preparedness stuff way more than Excel recently, because if I'm if I'm at home and I'm working on something, or I'm at work and I have some time during my lunch, I'll go pop it in. Using Excel, it's a little bit more challenging. So, and if I want to share the file, so like me and Sam will share files, me and Pablo will share files. So Google Sheets works out pretty good for that. You can do that with Excel as well, but then they got to have like an Office 365 subscription, and it just gets a little more convoluted. Where Google Sheets is just free. The problem with Google Sheets is that it doesn't have the bells and whistles that Excel does, and they make you jump through hoops to do the same function in Sheets that you would do in Excel. So it's not as robust. And the same thing can be said for Excel as an app on your Windows PC, and Excel within Office 365, which is like the web version.
Yeah.
And then if you're running Raspberry Linux, I know Sam does some stuff with Linux. So if he's trying to focus on that, then I don't know, is Excel even an option in Linux?
LibreOffice is good. Libre comes installed with Ubuntu and
Yeah.
Libre Sheets, I think they call it. Sam, you'd probably.
Yeah, I do it. LibreOffice and OpenOffice will run on Linux.
Yeah, I was going to say I use OpenOffice because it's free and has most of the functionality.
Yeah. And your stuff's not being sent to some data center.
Yeah.
But anyway, I figure.
Yeah, and I just don't want anyone that jumps in on trying to do stuff with spreadsheets expecting every version, Libra or Office or whatever, to do everything in the exact same way or have all the same functionality. So don't get discouraged by it. Just Google it. Everything you would need to know how to do, if it's doable in any of those programs, you can just Google it. So it's a great tool. I encourage everybody to use it. Let's see. Man, there was something that I was going to speak on with Sam. What was the thing you closed out with? Refresh my memory.
What the takeaway tonight?
Yeah. Because I had a comment to get on it.
Well, it was the needs.
Yes. Okay.
Purchasing things.
Yeah. So I do a lot of that, like in my phone. I'll make a notepad. If there's something that I see in a video or I see in a store, or I think, oh, my research needs. You know, it doesn't just have to be a purchase thing, because you don't want to just, oh, I saw that cool gizmo, I'm going to go get it. You got to go research it. But when you start documenting everything, it can get away from you as well. I mean, I'll have a brain dump on my phone in notes, and then I'll have 10 or 12 other different things because I'm always on my phone making notes about something. And then I don't get back to that. And then it's 3 months later, I'm doing this. I'm repeating the same thing, you know? So I'll have to sit there and go through all my notes periodically and just kind of glean it all into one file and email it to me and clear out my notes. Otherwise, I got bits and pieces of thoughts because things are always coming in my mind. So you got to organize what you're documenting as well, just like you're organizing and inventorying your gear. You know, because stuff comes into you meet somebody, you have a conversation, you want to write it down so you don't forget, but then 10 other things happen and you forget. All right, so let's go with, all right, Michelle, what are your final thoughts?
I need to be more mobile. So I like the Sam and Pablo, like the mobile moving shelving carts, and there, I can see where that can be used in multiple different, you know, I guess working pantries, whether that be the medical or the food or the camping. So that I'm definitely going to explore. And since people are interested in that Excel, because my December is literally crazy and I'm trying to handle a bunch of things, if you give me till the new year, I can make my Excel so that it's easy and I can just get it to Dom and he can get it out to everybody. It's just a basic, and it starts with one person, 1 month. You can just change the number and the formulas are already in there. And then if you want to add additional items that are meet your needs for your family, what you're looking for, you can just add them in and then add your different pages to the workbook.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Why reinvent the wheel? I actually copied other people. Thank you, all the other people. I have no idea who your credits are, but I took all my supplies so that I could put it in one Excel spreadsheet. But I'm happy to share it. It's not proprietary. I stole from lots of people.
Yeah, that's the way we do things in this space. You know,
Yeah.
We get inspired. We don't steal. We're inspired by people.
And not everybody wants to sit and like write it all in. But as long as you have the basic, you can add in as many items as you want.
Yep.
And then on the food end, where that's more of a calculation based on the number of people and how long, you change those two numbers in the top two fields, it'll recalculate it all the way down for you. And you can see the formula. So if you add more, you can just copy the formula. It's already in there.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Yeah. When that happens, I'll send it out to everybody.
Yeah. So Sam and Pablo, I need to know what you guys have. Thinking of Christmas.
Yeah, I got what you call it, Sam's. I got that picture, and when we're done being live, I'll go look for the one if Pablo sent it. And then I'll message you with those.
Thank you.
That'd be no problem. All right, Pablo, what are your final thoughts?
I'm already looking at Facebook Marketplace for dehydrators and freeze dryers. Still need to figure out which one would be better, depending on what can be processed. Lately, I've been trying some dehydrated fruits, and they just don't taste good to me. I don't know. Like yes, I need to eat, get all the nutrients and stuff, but it also needs to taste good. Like I can't just eat leather. So trying to figure out what would be the best option. Maybe both, maybe just one. I don't know. Need to figure out what I can process and Sam's, or I think it was Sam's idea, or Derek. If I actually end up getting a freeze dryer, just get together with the community and say, hey, you want to process something? Just come over. This is what I've tried. Or if you want to try something new, let's give it a try. And we can share a little bit of that. Like you can borrow the unit and I can get a little bit of a product. So we'll see. That's a decent idea.
Yeah. The most popular brand, I think, is Harvest Right. Did I say it right? Harvest Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was doing some deep dive research on them, people love them, obviously. But they have support in Florida. So it's regional support. So when something's happen and, sometimes you can just get the part or the oil or whatever the case may be. But when there's an issue and you can't resolve it, they do have authorized, service people that they send out. So I don't know how it falls in their warranty or what have you, and stuff. But when you get to that, don't feel like you're going to be out in the wilderness with a product. You go with the other brands that are out there, then you might be on your own. But that's something you might have to research on that. It seems like Harvest Right and everybody else. But it's worthwhile.
I feel the same as well.
Yeah. All right, Aaron, your final thoughts? And I only have 12 minutes, buddy. And you're muted.
You're muted.
There we go. I was trying not to get you guys to have to suffer with my coughing. But no, I enjoyed the conversation. It was, great to hear what everybody else is doing. And, it's given me a little bit of stuff to think about. I can always get more organized. So everybody that can see the background in my office right now would probably agree with that. So
It's a lot of knowledge back there. All right, cool. All right, so I'll give my final thoughts. We got about 10 and a half minutes left. I think it's been a great conversation tonight. You guys all did a great job, and great first time, Michelle. Appreciate you being on. You didn't seem nervous at all. You're like acting like a pro.
I'm definitely not a pro.
But I really enjoyed this episode, and I would like to emphasize to everybody, no matter what pillar of preparedness that you're researching or practicing, at least have an aspect of it or some portion of it to be mobile. I mean, almost everything I do, I start mobile first. So when I want to do something, so if I want to store water, I don't have any IBC totes, and it's for a variety of reasons. I think they're great, but they don't work logistically for my living situation. So I have 7-gallon aquatainers. Why? Because they're mobile. 7 gallons of water is kind of heavy, but it's something that I can carry, or my 2 daughters can team carry it, where we can't carry an IBC tote. So everything has a purpose. But if I want to bring a bunch of water out because we're primitive camping somewhere, I'm not bringing an IBC tote. I'm bringing my aquatainers full of water, or I'm bringing cases of bottled water too. So just to keep that in mind, and for every pillar, kind of dig in and see how mobile you can be. All right. One thing I wanted to mention too, comms wise, whether you're camping or whatever, we always think satellite phone might be a great backup for stuff. This seems kind of random, but I've been doing a lot of research on the Starlink, and you can get the Starlink Mini and they're not a sponsor. No one sponsors us. I don't own one, but I really like the idea that you can go and spend $300 on a Starlink Mini and then do the low bandwidth for $5 a month or whatever. And you can still, you can text with that. You can watch some YouTube at the lower rate. You can text, you can do certain GPS things. So it kind of fulfills more things that we'd want as, part of our pace plan, where a sat phone is just not reasonable for a variety of reasons, where a Starlink and your phone work out good. Starlink and your laptop, they work good. So plenty of videos out there on that. I'll probably mention the details that I've figured out in an upcoming episode, but I just want to put that on everybody's radar, because we just had Black Friday and Christmas is coming, and this is the time when you catch a special before something crazy happens, and it's a reasonable amount of money that you can build some redundancy in your system, but also take it with you so you go camping, or you go on vacation, or whatever the case may be. So it's not just sitting in a box somewhere. You're actually getting some use of it. All right, everybody. I'd like to thank you all for participating. I'd like to thank our audience for contributing to the questions in the chat. Remember to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Maybe we should have I encourage the audience members to have a watch party. I don't think we've ever done that, but talk to your friends and your family, and let's try to do something like that, and reach out to me. Okay, 2guysmakingtribe@gmail.com. What would you want to see in a watch party? We talk about something certain specific, or do certain things. Any ideas are welcome. Whether we can do them or not is a different story, but I think that'd be something cool that we could do. All right. Until next time, thank you everybody for coming out, and you guys be safe out there, and good night.
Right.
We're not